I want to tell you something I wish I had understood much earlier in life. As we grow older, we must accept one of the hardest truths. We cannot always rely on our family to be the source of our happiness, health, and inner peace. This doesn't mean our children don't love us, and it doesn't mean our family doesn't care. Life simply changes. Children become busy with their own families. Friends move away, get sick, or pass away. Sometimes the people we love the most are still here, but they simply can't always be available for us when we need them. I've lived long enough to see this happen again and again, and I've learned that the happiest older people aren't necessarily those with the biggest families. Often, they're the ones who've built a life they can rely on themselves. That's why I want to share 5 things with you today that can become your personal foundation as you age. And I'll start with something I myself only truly understood after many decades. Number 1. Emotional resilience. When I was a young man, I thought strength meant hiding my feelings. I believed you had to keep your head up, never complain, and just keep going, no matter what life threw at you. But age has taught me something entirely different. True emotional strength doesn't mean pretending nothing hurts. It means being able to feel pain without letting that pain take over your entire life. And believe me, the older we get, the more life gives us opportunities to practice this. We lose people we love. We retire and say goodbye to a job that may have given our lives meaning for decades. Our bodies change, our children move away, and friends disappear from our daily lives. And then there are those evenings when the house suddenly feels very quiet, and you feel the full weight of everything you've lost. I know those evenings well. What I've learned is this: you don't always have to run away from these feelings. Sometimes, you can just let them be there. You can say to yourself, yes, tonight I feel lonely. Yes, I miss that person. Yes, this hurts. And then you take a deep breath. You don't have to fix everything immediately. You don't have to call someone just to make the feeling go away. You can let the feeling exist without letting it become your entire identity. I once knew an older woman who lost her husband after more than 50 years of marriage. For months, the evenings were incredibly hard for her, but slowly she found her own way back to life. She started walking again, reading books, meeting a friend for coffee, and eventually, she allowed herself to laugh without feeling guilty. One day she told me something I'll never forget. I finally understood that the grief in my heart can stay, without taking over my entire life. You can miss someone and still enjoy your morning coffee. You can feel lonely and still be grateful for a beautiful day. You can be disappointed by your family without concluding that your own life has no meaning. So the next time you're overwhelmed by a difficult feeling, don't immediately fight against it. Pause for a moment and name it. This is sadness. This is fear. This is loneliness. And then remind yourself, I feel this, but I am not this. That small inner distance can give you strength. When you learn to be a safe place for your own feelings, you don't constantly need someone else to reassure you that everything will be okay. And that brings us naturally to the second point. Number 2, financial simplicity. I've known people with a lot of money who still worried constantly. And I've known people with very modest means who slept peacefully at night because their financial lives were simple and clear. The older I get, the more I believe that inner peace is often more valuable than more possessions. When you're young, it's easy to keep adding things to your life: another account, another credit card, another subscription, another purchase, another bill. But everything you add, you also have to manage and keep track of. Financial clutter can quietly turn into inner clutter. Maybe you have unopened bills on your kitchen table. Maybe you're paying for services or subscriptions you no longer use. Maybe you have multiple accounts and can barely keep track of them. None of these things seem particularly dramatic on their own, but together, they can create a constant feeling that something could go wrong at any moment. I've seen older people who were almost afraid to open their mail because they expected another complicated bill. One woman I knew decided, after her husband's death, to simplify her finances completely. She organized her accounts, canceled unnecessary expenses, reduced the number of cards she used, and structured her monthly finances so she could easily understand them. She didn't become rich overnight, but she told me something I'll never forget. I don't have more money than before, but I'm no longer afraid of my money. That's what financial simplicity can give you: control. But don't try to change everything at once. This week, just pick one unnecessary recurring expense and cancel it. Organize one drawer with your financial documents, or look at an account you've been avoiding. One small step is enough. You don't need to become a financial expert. You just need to understand your own financial life. The less financial confusion you carry with you, the more space there is in your mind for peace and calm. And once you've begun to build that inner peace and more stability in your daily life, there's another foundation you must protect because it directly affects your independence. Number 3, physical mobility. When you're young, you rarely think about how valuable simple movement really is. You stand up from a chair without thinking. You climb stairs, carry groceries, and go wherever you want. And then one day, you realize that getting up from a low chair suddenly takes a little more effort. Maybe your legs feel weaker. Maybe you don't go for walks as often because you're afraid of falling. Maybe you avoid outings because you're worried you won't be able to keep up with others. And slowly, your world becomes smaller. I've come to understand that movement in old age isn't just about sports. It's about freedom. Every safe step you take is a small investment in your independence. You don't have to jog. You don't have to lift heavy weights, and you don't have to compete with the person you were 40 years ago. You just have to try to move in a way that your body can safely handle today. I remember an older gentleman who went for a walk with his cane every morning. His steps were slow, but he rarely missed his walk. One morning I asked him why it was so important to him. He looked at me and said, "Because I don't want to wake up every morning waiting for someone else to help me." That sentence has stayed with me for many years. Your mobility doesn't have to be perfect to be valuable. Maybe you can walk for 20 minutes. Maybe it's 10 minutes. Maybe you need a cane, a walker, or someone nearby to feel safe. That's perfectly fine. Start where you are today. Move safely and regularly. And if you're unsure what kind of movement is right for you, talk to your doctor or another medical professional. The goal isn't to become young again. The goal is to maintain as much independence as possible. And please don't underestimate the small things: walking around your home, gentle stretching, regularly standing up from a chair, or taking a short walk outside. All of these can be important steps in continuing to actively participate in your own life. Because when you protect your ability to move, you're protecting far more than just your muscles. You're protecting your confidence, your freedom, and your ability to continue making your own decisions. This brings us to something even deeper. Emotional resilience helps you deal with life's losses. Financial simplicity helps you reduce unnecessary worries. Physical mobility helps you maintain independence. But you also need something inside you to guide you as more and more changes around you. And that brings us to number 4, your personal value compass. This too I only understood after many chapters of my life had already passed. When we're young, a large part of our identity comes from the roles we take on. We're someone's son or daughter, husband or wife, mother or father, employee, boss, teacher, neighbor. Every morning, tasks and obligations await us. And these obligations often give us a sense of knowing who we are. But then retirement comes. The children grow up, maybe a spouse passes away, and the work that filled so much of life suddenly lies behind us. Then one quiet morning, you might sit there and ask yourself a question you haven't asked in decades. Who am I really? I've seen how difficult this question can be for some people. They start looking outside themselves for someone to give their life meaning again. They wait for their children to call. They wait for their grandchildren to visit. They wait for someone to show them they still matter. But the older I get, the more I believe that our self-worth must come from something deeper than the attention of others. You need something inside you that says, "This is who I am, and this is how I want to live." That's your personal value compass. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, I think the best personal values are often surprisingly simple. Tell the truth, be kind, keep your word, don't carry a grudge longer than necessary, treat others with respect, take responsibility for your mistakes, try to leave things a little better than you found them. Simple principles like these can become an inner compass when life feels chaotic. I once met an older man who told me he had 5 rules he tried to live by every day. He always wanted to speak honestly without being cruel. He returned borrowed things reliably. He tried to forgive others quickly because he didn't want to spend his remaining years carrying old anger. He tried to help whenever he could, and before he went to bed at night, He asked himself one question: did I treat people well today? This man wasn't rich or famous, but he radiated a special kind of peace. He knew who he was. He didn't need everyone else's approval because he had already decided what kind of person he wanted to be. That's the kind of freedom a personal value compass can give you. Your children might disagree with you. Your friends might misunderstand you. Someone might criticize you. Someone might forget to call, even if they promised. And maybe someone won't appreciate what you've done for them. Of course, these things can hurt. We're only human. But they don't have to determine your worth. When you know what you believe in and how you want to live, it becomes much harder for anyone to throw you off balance internally. You stop constantly asking, what do I have to do to make everyone else happy? And start asking instead, what's the right thing for me? Those are two completely different questions. That's why I'd like to suggest a small exercise. Take a piece of paper, write at the top, what I believe in, and underneath, write 3 simple rules you want to live by for the rest of your life. They don't have to sound impressive. Maybe one of your rules is, stay kind, even when I'm tired. Or, don't go to bed with unnecessary anger. Maybe it's, stay curious, or, be good with what I have. These words aren't just sentences on a piece of paper. If you actually live by them, they become an inner support. And unlike many other things in life, no one can take that support away from you. Now, I want to talk about one last point, and in many ways, this point brings everything together. Number 5, a consistent health routine. I've learned that our health is rarely protected by one big decision. Usually, it's the small things we do over and over again. Too many people only start paying attention to their health after something has already gone wrong. They wait for a concerning test result, a fall, a serious warning from their doctor, or even a health crisis. Only then do they decide their body deserves attention. But by that point, they're already reacting to a problem instead of taking care of themselves every day. A good routine doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it can look remarkably ordinary. Wake up around the same time, drink some water, take your medications as prescribed, move your body, eat regularly, get enough sleep and rest, keep your doctor's appointments, spend a little time outside, and if it's suitable for you, do a few gentle stretches. None of this sounds particularly exciting, but there's enormous power in simple things done consistently. When I was younger, I wanted complicated solutions. I thought that if something was really going to make a difference, it had to be difficult. Age has changed my perspective. Today, I appreciate boring habits because boring habits can save you from a lot of problems. When you have a solid routine, you don't have to make 20 different decisions every morning. You don't have to think every day about whether you should go for a walk. You also don't have to rely completely on someone else to remind you of everything. Your routine becomes a natural part of your life. I knew an older man who had almost the same morning routine for years. He would wake up, make himself a cup of tea, take his prescribed medications, do some gentle exercises, have breakfast, and then go for a walk around his neighborhood. When I once asked him why he was so disciplined about it, he gave me an answer I found beautiful. He said, because every morning I want to remind myself that I'm still worth taking good care of. Think about that for a moment. His routine wasn't just about preventing illness, it was an expression of self-respect. And that's what all 5 points ultimately lead to. Emotional resilience helps you carry difficult feelings without breaking. Financial simplicity helps you remove unnecessary worries from your life. Physical mobility helps you protect your independence. A personal value compass gives you direction when the world around you changes. And a consistent health routine reminds you, every single day, that your life is still worth nurturing and protecting. But none of this means you should push your family away. Please don't misunderstand me. Love your children. Enjoy your grandchildren. Call your friends and accept help when you need it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with relying on others sometimes. We're human and we need each other. But there's a big difference between accepting love and transferring the entire responsibility for your sense of security onto someone else. That's the difference I want to leave you with. Maybe your daughter doesn't call every day. You can still have a beautiful and meaningful day. Maybe your son lives thousands of miles away. You can still take good care of yourself. Maybe a friend moves away. You can still make new connections. Maybe your body is slowing down. You can still move it in safe ways. Maybe you lose people you love. You can still carry their memory in your heart while continuing to live your own life. And maybe you wake up one morning feeling uncertain about the future. You can still ask yourself, what's one good thing I can do for myself today? After living so many years, I no longer believe that independence means having to do everything alone. That's not real independence. True independence means continuing to actively participate in your own life. It means taking responsibility for the things you can influence while accepting that some things will always be beyond your control. You can't control whether your children call. You can't control what other people think of you. And you can't control every change that comes with aging. But you can influence how you treat your body. You can simplify the things that unnecessarily complicate your life. You can learn to handle difficult feelings better. You can choose your own values, and you can build daily routines that support the person you want to remain in the future. So before we finish, I want you to take just one thing from everything we've talked about today. Not 5, just one. Maybe tomorrow, you'll go for a 10-minute walk. Maybe you'll cancel a subscription you no longer use. Maybe you'll write down 3 values that truly matter to you. Maybe you'll start with one simple morning routine. Or maybe you'll just sit quietly for a few minutes and allow yourself to notice a feeling you've been running from. Whatever you choose, make it small enough that you can actually do it. Because a small promise you make to yourself and keep is more powerful than a huge promise you never fulfill. And if you'd like, write in the comments what one thing you'll commit to today. You never know who might read your comment and realize they're not the only one trying to build a stronger, more peaceful life. If this conversation meant something to you, I'd be very happy if you'd give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of older adults here who understand that growing older doesn't mean giving up. It means figuring out what truly matters in life. And if there's someone in your life who needs to hear this message right now, please share this video with them. Sometimes, a few minutes of encouragement reach us exactly when we need them most. Thank you, my friend, for spending this time with me. I know you could have spent your time in many other places, so I truly appreciate that you stayed here and listened to an old man sharing a few lessons that took him many years to learn. Take good care of yourself. Be patient with your body, treat your heart with kindness, and never forget that your life still has value, meaning, and purpose. Until we meet again, stay healthy, stay strong, and keep taking step by step in the right direction. We'll see each other in the next video. Take good care of yourself, my friend. Goodbye.